Putin is in a hurry to win God over in the Ukraine conflict. An analyst claims that as Moscow suffers mounting losses and deaths ahead of Ukraine's expected spring counteroffensive, Russian President Vladimir Putin has turned to God and the Orthodox Church for help. This week, Putin decided to return two religious icons to the Russian Orthodox Church from state-run museums. Among them was the Trinity icon, which dates back to the 15th century. He had previously donated to the Russian Orthodox Church an ornate silver shrine built in honor of Prince Alexander Nevsky of the 13th century. Prior to its current location, the shrine was on display at the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. Both the Kremlin and the Orthodox Church have blamed Putin's political and military aspirations for the transfers. Putin, according to former US and NATO cultural advisor on Russian and Eurasian affairs Mark Voiger, hopes the transfers will buy the loyalty of the Orthodox Church. Voiger was quoted by US News as saying, "He is in a hurry to get God's imprimatur on his current and especially his future actions both in Ukraine and at home, in Russia itself." Apparently, he thinks he can buy the allegiance of the Orthodox Church by transferring those two icons, with other sacred artifacts possibly following suit. And, therefore, of the tens of millions of Orthodox believers who are likely to look to Cyril and his clergy for spiritual guidance when making decisions such as whether to enlist to fight in Ukraine or whether to blindly support Putin and his regime should the system in Russia begin to shake, he added. Putin's regime has relied heavily on the Russian Orthodox Church since he launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February of last year. In fact, he said last year that Ukrainians in that ancient Russian land are Orthodox Christians being persecuted by the corrupt government in Kyiv because of their faith. Putin's war in Ukraine has been backed by the Russian Orthodox Church and its leader, Patriarch Kirill I. Kirill likened giving one's life for one's country in the Ukraine conflict to a sacrifice that washes away one's sins back in September. Moscow Times reported that Kirill blamed Western values, including gay pride parades, for Russia's invasion of Ukraine last year. The ultra-populist leader of the U.S. Republican Party, Donald J. Trump, braved an extended grilling on CNN Town Hall, a rarity in the echo chambers of right-wing media. The 10th of May public event was a high-stakes look into the political maneuverings of the man who is hoping for a second shot at the White House in 2024. Trump reveled in the adulation of his Republican base, who made up the vast majority of the audience, and entertained them with pointed jabs at his opponents, which were met with hearty laughter and applause. The evening was marred by a slew of fabrications and exaggerations, despite the admirable tenacity and expertise of interviewer Caitlin Collins. Collins bravely took on Trump's oratory for the entire 70-minute event, and she effectively refuted his claims of election fraud time and time again with evidence. Trump, unfortunately, did not let this deter him from his mission to spread confusion and misinformation by continually repeating the same tired story. Trump's skill at using the big lie to manipulate and mislead his base of supporters was on full display at the event. Trump, unfazed by Collins's fact-checking and attempts to speak over her, continued his tirade of falsehoods, dominating the stage with his usual brand of bluster and intimidation. An alarmingly large portion of the Republican Party has become infected with dangerous disinformation, which was only spread further by this extreme bullying display. In a spectacle reminiscent of his infamous social media tirades, Trump unleashed wild and unfounded claims, bringing back memories of the 2016 presidential campaign.